Welcome to the Music Hole, a weekly podcast where Loco and I talk about music and the music we've listened to and new music that could be coming out or whatever the fuck you want to do. As you can see, I put together a nice little layout for us. It looks a little bit better this time around than it did last week, so I'm pretty hyped on that. We got the little No Life logo in the corner there because that's where this is going. This is not sponsored or anything, but it is affiliated and posted to No Life. So go follow No Life. I'll let Loco do all that shilling later. That's about it. Fridays at whatever time him and I can both do it. That's when we're going to try to keep doing it. Got a cool show today. Got more structure. More planning went into this week than last, as opposed to last week with the 20 minutes before the show, figuring it out. We put some more planning into this one. So I'm just going to bring Andrew, Loco, whatever we want to call him, bring him on and start chatting.
Yeah. What's up, man?
How's your week?
Oh, pretty good. It went by actually a lot faster than I thought it would. Like, you ever get into it and like Monday and Tuesday just drag ass, and then right after that it just speeds by. It's just Monday and Tuesday.
Yep, that's usually how it works.
Yeah, like literally Monday and Tuesday always drag ass, and then it's fine. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Usually once you hit like the end of day on Wednesday, you're golden. It's like
especially me because I only work half days on Friday.
Yeah. Well, as for me, I don't work at all right now, so every day's a Friday.
More like every day's a Saturday.
Yeah, that's true. Every day's a Saturday. Well, I say every day's a Friday because every day I still do some work, whether it be school or painting. So it's like I still do some stuff, but yeah.
But you don't have to wake up at a certain time. Well, you do kinda. Like you have to take Emmett to the babysitter and all that.
And the days that I have, like today, today he couldn't go to the babysitter, so today I had to go pick him up at 9 and bring him back here. So I was up at like 8. So, but it's cool actually. Since I got like for the first like 2 weeks of me being unemployed, I really fucking like started getting lethargic, and I'd like sleep till like 11 every day and feel really fucking weird. It like didn't matter when I went to sleep, my ass would sleep till 11 and like not even realize it. Like this whole week I've been waking up between like 7:30 and 8 and like getting up, making breakfast, eating, and by like 9 o'clock or 10 I was like already rolling on either painting or schoolwork. So I feel like I sort of got a rhythm now.
Yeah, a lot of that is I'm not sure if you still wake up with an alarm clock. Yeah. Once you stop waking up with an alarm clock, I think that's when you give up.
Yeah. Well, and that was it. Was
really bad.
Yeah, that was it too. It was like the first 2 weeks of me being off work, the days I didn't have to get Emmett or anything like that. Like my ass just would go to sleep, not set an alarm, just be like, I'll wake up. Like I'm used to waking up at this time.
No.
Then I'm like, I wake up and think it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, it's 11.
It's 11:30.
Well, because now it gets, before it would be dark when I'd wake up, like 8 o'clock or 7:30, whatever. It'd still be somewhat dark out. Now it's bright as shit. So it's like I wake up and I'm thinking like, oh, it's early, and then it's not because it's noon.
Yeah, that's like your internal clock will only last so long, honestly.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get into the tunes. This week we listened to... So basically what we're planning on doing for the remainder of this show, unless we have some sort of like special episode or anything like that. Kingmen, we can't actually play music on this stream because that's copyright infringement. This is more of a music review podcast type thing. So we talk about music we've listened to.
It's like Great Value Anthony Fantano.
Pretty much, yeah. We just need to get like the noise. Yeah, great value Anthony Fantano. That's the best thing. The what can we call it? The needle drop
light or
the needle drop sale edition.
The CD skip.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so we talked about basically what we're doing here is we're plotting it out each week. We each pick 2 albums that we want to listen to that we preferably haven't listened to before or haven't listened to in a really long time or haven't really done an extensive listen to in the first place. So this week I think this week we listened to that. You'd listened to that Dismemberment plan before, right?
Actually, not really. I've listened to it a little bit.
Okay.
But what was one of my friends have been trying to get me to listen to it for about like a week and a half.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'll just be like, hey, we should listen to this, and then I'll have to listen to it.
Yeah. All right, so we got 4 albums that we really haven't, 3 for sure that we've never listened to before, and then 1 that I haven't listened to at all, and Loco hasn't listened to much. So this week we checked out Carpenter Brute's new album called Leather Teeth. Carpenter Brute is a 80s inspired electronic artist, very, very 80s.
Yeah, like retro wave outruns.
Retro wave for
like
sure. We listened to the new Harm's Way album called Posthuman, which was basically just straight up beat down hardcore type album. We got Disperse with the new album from last year or 2 years ago called Forward, which was kind of a proggy rock album. And then
Yes.
Dismemberment Plan Emergency and I, which came out in like
99.
99. Yeah, boy, it's an old
Yeah.
school banger.
Yeah.
Kind of indie, kind of straight up rock, kind of crazy at times. Dollar with the big bits. What's up, my guy?
What up, Dollar?
Thank you for that. I need to get what's that thing? Streamlabs on this actual page, so that shows up when we're doing it. I'll do that for next week. But anyway, let's get right into it. Which one do you want to talk about first, dude?
We can go in ascending order. So I think pretty much our bottom 2 are the same, and the top 2 are just rotated out.
Yeah.
So we can just pick whichever for the top 2, but we can start at the bottom, very bottom, if you want to.
Yeah, let's go with that. We'll start with Disperse.
Yeah.
Album was called Forward. Not forward moving, more like a forward to a book.
Yeah.
So yeah, Disperse, prog rock, kind of similar to bands like Periphery, not really Periphery, but like in that vein of just being like a hard rock, proggy, Between the Buried and Me is slower, The Contortionist, that kind of thing. Yeah, we actually could share YouTube links so we could follow along. Loco, you want to hit those up? We could.
Yeah. I got about 2 or 3 songs per band that I think were my favorite songs off the album.
Mm-hmm.
Or the standout songs. You see me doing air quotes because it's really hard to pick favorite songs and standout songs from bands that you don't really, or from albums you didn't really like. So I guess I can like post those up in the chat.
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
Talking about it, and then I'll put my 2 cents in after you talk about it.
That works. So yeah, Disperse. This band I actually really liked, and I still do like them. I listened to their first album, which was called Living Mirrors. That came out, I think, in like 2014, 2013, something like that. And I really enjoyed that album, so I had some pretty high hopes for their new album. And a couple of friends of mine that like a lot of the same music loved this album. They talked about it a lot, said how much they enjoyed it, and it kept sliding under my radar. So I never listened to it until I saw someone post about it a few weeks ago, kind of got back in my memory bank, and then when we were planning out this week, I was like, fuck it, let's do this. Let's listen to this. Unfortunately, I wasn't a big fan of this record. I think it wasn't a bad record by any means. It just wasn't very impressive. It wasn't very standout at all. A lot of the songs just really started to blend together. Everything kind of sounded the same. This one just felt a little bland. I feel a lot of this would have been better suited as an instrumental. There were some really interesting tracks that had some really great instrumentation, but the vocals just kind of distracted away from that, and at the end of the day, I think it was just way too fucking long.
Yeah. All right. So what I got on it, I wrote like a lot of these down in Notepad. So if you see me like just stopping and reading, that's why. It's like I wrote all my shit out so I didn't forget as I was listening to it. I listened to this album about 2 times. That was about all I could take of it. I will listen to almost anything 1 time at least all the way through. and 2 times if I feel like I need to just, make sure of my opinion of it. My general opinion of it is it's okay, but it's almost completely forgettable. Like, there's nothing really standoutish about any of this. I haven't listened to any of the previous bands or any of the band's previous content, so I don't have any context in that form. Like, I should maybe go back and try to listen to some older stuff since you like them. But yeah, for the most part, I haven't listened to any of them. It's really proggy and bouncy, if I would have to describe it. Like, it feels almost poppy at times. You know what I mean? Like, especially with the vocals, it's like you can tell they're going for that, that clean, mainstream sounding kind of popish, as poppy as you can get for a prog metal band. They tried for an ethereal sound, but after a few tracks, it really just comes off as samey. And especially since I don't know if you noticed this, but there's like this female like vocal sample.
Yeah.
And they use it over and over and
Always.
over. And it's the same fucking sample.
Yeah.
It is the same sample. It's in that Tether song, which is the first link I put. And I think it's also in that Neon song, which is the second link I put. And the only other song that I had on there that was standoutish was Sleeping Ivy. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Because it felt like it could be more of an instrumental. Like, it had a lot of monotony in the album. Like I said, they were going for that like ethereal, like ambient, like light kind of sounding feel for most of the album. And I found myself like wanting more like just stupid guitar wankery, because there was a little bit in there and I would want more because I just wanted to break up the monotony of the songs and of the music. And I don't know. And then when I would actually get the progginess, the metal, the wankery, I still wouldn't enjoy it. I wanted more of it. And then when I got it, I was like, nah, you know what? It's not that great anyway. They tried for one song. It was called Does It Matter How Far? That song is a 9-minute song.
Yeah.
And it does fucking nothing.
Nothing.
It does nothing at all. It is literally like, it doesn't progress. You just feel like you're listening to the same like verse chorus over and over again, and like the bridge sounds the same. It's like, they should have named it like, Does This Song Even Matter, really? Because it's just too much. It's 9 minutes long and it's not doing anything. If you have a song that's like 9 minutes long, which a lot of prog bands do have really long songs, but if you have a song that long, you need to
do something.
Yeah, you need to fucking do something. You need to change something up. You need to like surprise me or something. Which leads me into my next point. The main theme of this album, besides, etherealness, is too long. Because everything was too fucking long. The whole album clocks in at around 52 minutes.
Yep.
And there's honestly not enough ideas to fill that kind of time slot, which is weird because prog albums are usually pretty long, but they usually have, a fair amount of ideas. And this did not.
And that was the thing, is they had, like in Sleeping Ivy, there was some cool shit going on in Sleeping Ivy with like the drum kit, like electric drum kit sounding, and like everything kind of being very like drony almost on like a lo-fi aspect, and just it's like they did it and it was cool, but they didn't do anything with that cool thing. Like, it is just disappointing to say the least.
Except beat it into the ground where you didn't want to listen to it anymore.
Yeah.
Like this is a 50+ minute, like, honestly, this album would have been a lot better if it was 35 to 45 minutes.
If they
if they would have just cut out a lot of fat, like that Doesn't Matter How Far song could have been a 3.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine. You wouldn't have lost anything.
And I think they the thing I didn't like, or the thing I liked about the album was, like I said, the instrumentation, and it almost felt like every song, was like 2 songs, where like the first half of it was like this like full band attempt at like a pop prog type genre, but then the last half of a lot of songs were really fucking rad because everything kind of cut out and it just focused on the instrumentation. One of my favorite parts on this album was the very end of tomorrow or what? Yeah, tomorrow. That end solo when he just starts shredding and that end like the last like 30 seconds of tomorrow. I loved that. And I thought that was super interesting. I really liked the last half of Kites. And pretty much everything that was happening in Sleeping Ivy. All the songs that focused more on the instrumentation and didn't try to like make a full pop song out of it. I loved him. I did enjoy songs like Tether and Neon a lot, even though that female vocal sample did get beaten into the ground. I really liked the way the vocalist delivered that pop style, especially in Tether. I thought he did a great job on that aspect, but again, could have cut out a lot of other songs and it could have just been like, even that, if it would have just been like a 6-song album that had like Tether, Neon, Kites, Sleeping Ivy, and then maybe like one of those other ones on there, it would have been great. I think it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, they didn't really necessarily have to cut down the length of all of their songs.
Right.
Just fucking cut out the fat.
Right.
You know, you don't have to. We're living in an age of you know, streaming your music. You don't really have to. Every album doesn't have to be you know, almost an hour long. You can come out with a 30-minute album, be completely fine.
Yeah.
The only things that I have to say about the only things left to say about this is, yeah, like I said, it's okay all in all. It's something that you maybe can put on in the background,
yeah,
I guess, because in my opinion, it's like it's not too memorable and it's boringly hypnotic.
It's not distracting at all if you're trying to get shit done.
Yeah, if you're trying to get shit done, you can just pop this on and just let it go. I think
and you'll have those few moments like at the end of tomorrow. Like you'll have those moments where you'll hear that shred start and you'll be like, oh, that's really cool. All right.
And then it'll just dip back out. Like I said, my standout favorite tracks off of this one were Tether, Sleeping Ivy, and Neon. And like I said, I put 2 of those in the chat. But
if well, so basically I'm thinking if you like the instrumentation going on in this album a lot, you should check out some other artists that do it better. Basically my suggestions for moving forward with your music, if you liked this album or you liked aspects of it,
you get it? Forward.
Yeah, right.
the other meaning.
Got him.
Got him.
Who Bit the Moon by David Maximicic is a great album that does all of the shit that they do well in this album, but just way better. Same thing with Anything by Pliny. You would definitely enjoy Pliny, David Maximicic, and even this one band I found recently called Owain. Just very, like, it's that prog instrumentation that still has a lot of pop elements to it. Look, I don't know what you gave this one, but I gave this one a 4.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
All right, so I also did the recommending other bands type thing, which in my opinion, when I'm thinking of it, I'm thinking like if I'm trying to describe to you what the band sounds like, then I would recommend these bands. Or like you said, if you gave it a try and you want to find something better, yeah, I also recommend. That's what I mean by the recommendations.
Yeah.
I got 3. I generally do all my shit in 3s, if you haven't noticed. I don't know if that's like some kind of weird complex I got and I need psychiatry for it, but
I do the same thing, so we're both fucked up.
Yeah, it's in 3s. So for the other bands, I got Tesseract, Altered State, which is a really good, it's my favorite Tesseract album. I know it's not Cassandra's, but it's my favorite Tesseract. If you like that easy listening prog type, it doesn't have any shredding in it, but it is it's a really good listen, especially if you're into the, like I said, the whole laid back prog metal approach with clean vocals. I also had David Maxim in my CIC, but I have Echo, which I really like that album.
Love that album too.
And then I got Sky Harbor, Guiding Lights.
I was gonna put that in there. I was gonna put Sky Harbor in there.
Yeah, I like Sky Harbor a lot, and so which oddly enough is also tied to Tesseract.
Yep. Just with the better vocalist.
Oh. See, I had the other opinion, and that's why Altered State's my favorite. As for score, like I said, you could put it on the background and you can space out for a few listens a couple times or just avoid it altogether, because it's probably not worth your time. It's all right. I also gave it a 4 out of 10.
Look at that. We're in agreement.
In agreement on that one.
I didn't really think we wouldn't be in it. Oh, did you freeze? Man, Zoom is so weird when you like turn like with OBS, it like reacts really weirdly where if like Zoom is like behind a bunch of like if it's in the background, OBS picks it up and like glitches the fuck out of it. It's so weird. But anyway, let's move on then. We're gonna move from the Disperse album over to Harm's Way with Posthuman. I'll let you go ahead and actually I'm gonna, since I'm running OBS and if I open up anything it's probably gonna freeze, so
I'll post a couple links to songs.
Yeah. Harm's Way is a fucking hardcore band. They've been around for years. One of the bigger names in hardcore. One of the bigger names in hardcore. They kind of are similar to Code Orange, Foundation, that kind of shit. So if you like just straight up aggressive hardcore, you'll like this. It's a Harm's Way album though. Like a lot of these bands, there's not a lot of, I mean, some bands really do push the envelope and they start doing some interesting shit. They start treading new ground in the hardcore realm. And this album, they do that too. They just don't do it a whole lot. And when they do end up trying something new, it kind of feels a little disjointed to the rest of the album. But it's cool when they do that, so it does work. At times, I feel like this album does kind of just bleed together. There's kind of very similar groove patterns. There's very similar breakdowns in the album. But again, it's a hardcore album. A lot of this is very samey across the board. You can listen to pretty much any, you can grab any hardcore EP out of the fucking, top 50 hardcore albums of all time, and you're probably going to hear a lot of the same riffs. So I can't really hold that against them for just sticking true to what works in the genre. I still thought it was an enjoyable album though. Very good, like heavy listen. If you're feeling aggressive or whatnot, you can pop this on and you'll be feeling good. Loco, you froze, just FYI. Hope you don't drop. But yeah, I think he might have dropped again. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this album was good. I liked it a lot. There was some cool shit going on with some different experimentation in there. There were two songs in particular, Temptation and what was the other one? I gotta look it up now because I don't remember. I think it was. Oh, okay, cool. Temptation and The Gift were the two I was thinking of that were different in terms of like kind of treading treading away from what the norm is in the genre. But yeah, there's a lot of cool shit on this album. It was definitely worth listening to, and like I said, my favorite tracks off it were Temptation, Call My Name, and Dead Space.
All right. I don't know, like, when I do No Life, that shit doesn't happen.
Really?
Yeah. So I got no idea what's happening with that. But hey, whatever. Maybe it's just bad luck.
It could be.
Yeah. I listened to this album probably about 3 times, I'd say. I was actually listening to it today a little bit. But, I mean, I generally like this album. It's, like you said, it's beat down hardcore. It's just hardcore. That's what it is. It's not, you're not breaking any barriers or breaking any molds with this album. But it's not really meant to. It's just meant to be good old, like I said before about Left Behind. It's just good old knuckle dragging fun. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's just aggression and breakdowns. And like you said last week, you can't really just, I don't know. You can't really, there's only so far you can take the breakdown.
Yeah, right.
Like, you can't just keep reinventing the breakdown. Shit doesn't work like that. This album is really high energy. Some songs, in my opinion, might drag on a little bit too long for a hardcore act. I don't want that to be like the staple of like, oh, Loco only likes short songs. But,
yeah.
Generally hardcore bands, they generally do like 1.5 minute, 2-minute songs.
Yeah.
And these guys are doing, there's a couple on there that are shorter, but they're mainly doing like, 3.5, 4 minute songs.
Yeah, the shortest one was Last Man or whatever, and it was 1 minute and 59 seconds.
Yep. Yep, that's the shortest one, and that's generally not how it goes on a hardcore album.
I was looking, you know, like when I first loaded it up in Spotify, I was scrolling through to see the timestamps and everything because the overall album time seemed a bit long for a hardcore record, and I was scrolling through looking for those, you know, those classic 40-second bangers. I was hoping for one, and there just isn't one on here.
Nope. The album it clocks in at 33 minutes total.
Yeah.
And it could probably have been trimmed down a little bit, trimmed down to, you know, 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's see. I also noticed that they generally do stick to the straight up beat down, but they did try to venture into the experimentation. And like you said, that the experimentation, it came in the way of Temptation, which was it was kind of like a slower, more deliberate, like melodic type song, which I don't think would be, I think it'd be a hit or miss with hardcore fans, like standard hardcore fans.
Yeah.
Like somebody would hear that, be like that Code Orange song off their new album.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Into the Fade? Some shit like that.
Bleeding in the Blur.
Yeah, Bleeding in the Blur. Yeah, like that became a pretty good, like, mainstream hit, but if you listen to that and then try to listen to the rest of the album, it's not gonna.
Right.
And when it's kind of like when I listened to last week, you were talking about Rollo Tomasi.
Yep.
And I was like, let me check them out. And I was listening, like when I'm listening in like my truck or when I'm riding around or something like that, I won't look at the track listings.
Right.
But I knew when I got to Opalescent,
yeah.
I knew when I popped into that shit, I was like, yeah, this is really good, but it sounds nothing like the rest of the album.
And that's where it fucked me up because Opalescent was the first song I ever even heard by them, and it came on in a fucking Discover Weekly, and I was like, oh, I love this. Let me listen to the whole album. Whoops.
And you were like, I still like this.
Oh yeah, not what I thought.
Yeah, Discover Weekly, like there's some kind of algorithm that should be tweaked there. Yeah. But and then the Gift, which was interesting foray into like industrial type music. Honestly, I thought it was a little bit, I don't know, I didn't really like it. It was only 2.5 minutes long. I didn't really like it all that much, but I think it doesn't mean you should skip it,
right?
Because it kind of builds atmosphere for the last song, Dead Space.
Yeah,
in my opinion, which I really like Dead Space. And my standouts on here were actually like two different ones, and one of them was the same as yours. Last Man, I liked it. I like Become a Machine too, which was, I probably like that a little bit more than Last Man. Unreality, and then I like Dead Space. Yeah,
I really like
that.
Oh god.
I was gonna say that I think that these guys were trying to, like you said, they're big names, and they were trying to innovate a little bit, and they're trying to innovate in the vein of like Turnstile and like Turnstile's new effort, and like Code Orange's new effort. You know, they're just trying to switch things up, and they didn't switch it up enough,
right? And
in my opinion,
I think that was what like when I listened to Temptation and The Gift, those were the two, like when those came on, I was like, oh, they're trying to do the Code Orange industrial metal hardcore thing. And the issue I had with it was like it was too similar to what Code Orange did. It used the same drum samples, really. It was using the same sounds, like just that really sludgy industrial rock thing. And it's not like it's a bad thing. It's just you knew listening to that it was like, oh, they listened to Code Orange and were like, hey, we should try venturing also.
Yeah, we listened to Code Orange and Igor.
Yeah, right. I did really enjoy the last like minute of the closing track, Dead Space. That breakdown was just probably the best one on the album. Just how it starts off really aggressive, and then it kind of like transitions into something a little bit different, but still similar enough to where it's like, yeah, it's the same fucking, like the same breakdown, the same plan, that kind of thing. I did like the album. Like I said, it's just, you know, it's a hardcore album. You got to kind of be in the mood for it, and if you're in the mood for it, you can listen to pretty much anything, and this is one of those albums that you could throw on and be happy with listening to.
Yeah, like I said, it was my next to lowest out of all these that we listened to this week. These four, and I was still listening to it this morning because I was in that mood. I was like, you know what, I want to throw it on another time.
Yep. Same.
To see if my opinion changes, and also just to listen to a hardcore album that I haven't listened to a million times already. Like I didn't want to throw on Incendiary because I've listened to that shit way too much.
I'd say overall I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. And if you like it, or if you want to listen to something similar, or if you like any of these records, I'm going to say you'll like this one. I found that it was very similar to Code Orange's new album, Forever. I also put on a EP from one of my favorite hardcore bands, Foundation, the Turncoat EP. If you listen to that EP and then you listen to this Harm's Way album, I actually had to Google search it to see if the Foundation vocalist was the same as the Harm's Way's vocalist, because it sounds the same. His delivery is like the exact same, but it's not the same dude. And then my last one was the Jabalba and Suburban Scum split EP. I think it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more aggressive, but the Jabalba section of it is very similar in like it being more groove and like heavy beat down, and then Suburban Scum is a little bit more of your straight up like fast aggression.
Yeah, I really do like both those bands, Baba and Suburban Scum. Like I said, my standouts were oh yeah, I already covered that anyway. My other band suggestion was, well, the first one was Code Orange Forever, because like you said, they did the experimentation a little bit better, and I don't know, there's just something really tight about that album.
It just
it just all came together. It all felt right. You know, I didn't care much for Bleeding in the Blur, but you know, it still had its place. You know, it was still all right. I still liked it. Another one is Madness.
Which one?
Hard Side, the Madness.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still beat down. It's a little bit technical still. You know, they maybe do a little bit more experimentation that I like, but I would suggest you guys check it out. And Code Orange is the new black, says $2. But the last one I had was Weekend Nacho's Apology.
Yeah, boy.
That's also more like fast and aggressive, but
that's where you'll get your fucking 50-second songs, that album.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like. But yeah, I gave it, like I said, it's definitely a nice hardcore album to throw on because you want to throw on a hardcore album. It's all right. I mean, there's better ones out there, but I mean, if you've listened to all those a lot, you can always throw this on and still feel satisfied. Just with the experimentation that they were trying, like they just didn't do enough, and they didn't break any molds. And I mean, it's just what you expect. Yeah. It was all right though. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, another good one to check out. Harm's Way, Posthuman. From the boys, you're getting a 6.5 and a 6. So pretty similar.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to let you pick this next one since we're going on these top 2 here from this week.
It doesn't matter to me. We can go with Dismemberment Machine first if you want to do that.
Boom. There we go. This one is where my notes go? There we go. Dismemberment Plan, Emergency and I.
Dismemberment Plan.
Yeah, I heard you say Dismemberment Machine.
I was like, what?
Dismemberment Plan, Emergency and I, like we said earlier, an album from 1999. A little bit of an old banger. This one, actually, I had to listen to this about 3 times before I actually liked it. I didn't like it at all the first time I listened to it. I had no fucking idea what was going on. I had no idea what they were trying to accomplish. And I just couldn't get into it. It's not an accessible album by any means, but it's still one worth listening to if you can get through it like once or twice and start picking up on like what's actually cool about it and what they're doing and like why it works. The thing I noticed almost straight away was that it really reminded me of a very, very watered down version of the Blood Brothers. And that was kind of why I kept giving it extra listens because I kept getting these little moments where I was like, this sounds like a Blood Brothers album, and I really like the Blood Brothers, so I'm gonna keep listening and see if I can find some shit I like about it. But the more I listened to it, the more it kind of took its shape, and I started to really enjoy it. Like I said, though, it's really weird, but there's some really cool music and instrumentation going on here. I think there's some interesting notes. I like I said, I felt like this was like a diluted version of the Blood Brothers with like a pinch of Weezer or something like that. Like there's some really catchy passages. There's some weird chaotic moments, but they blend in perfectly. And I really do enjoy the way the vocalist has, like, his vocal delivery is really cool. In the song, I think it was 8.5 minutes, or it might have been the last song on the album. I can't remember, but there's like this part where he's just like talking, and it reminded me exactly like some shit from fuck, what's that band's name now? I can't remember. I'm really pissed. Something for the Foxes. Oh God.
It's not foxing, is it?
No. The album was called Catch for Us the Foxes or whatever. It's that like really fucking popular band.
Really popular band. I can't remember.
Me Without You. Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Like his vocal delivery on some of those tracks really reminded me of Me Without You, which I liked a lot. My favorite tracks were What Do You Want Me to Say, Gyroscope, and 8.5 minutes.
Nice. Yeah. This kind of shocked me a little bit because, well, first of all, I'll frame this as my friend that constantly wanted me to listen to this album for the last week and a half. He is a bassist. So now that might be able to make a little bit more sense as to why he would want me to listen to this so bad. It's like a weird, if I had to describe it to somebody, I would say it's like a weird mashup of technical mathy guitar and jazzy drum and bass.
Yeah.
With some emo tones thrown in.
Yep.
Like, it's if somebody was to hold a gun against your head and say, tell me something that this is exactly like, you could not do it. No. I don't think. Like,
I had a really hard time picking albums that were similar. Like,
yeah, me too. Like I had to pick like little chunks of what I thought might be, and it's like I'll have to explain when I recommend a band and an album. I'll have to explain why I'm recommending.
Yeah.
Because when you listen to it, you'll be like, "This sounds nothing like that." Well, that's because this doesn't really sound like much out of everything else.
Yeah.
This shit is really unique and it's really unpredictable. And it's really crazy when you think about it that it was recorded in 99 because of one, how progressive it is, which that didn't say much because, there's always been super progressive bands, but also how the production was really good.
I didn't believe that it was from the late 90s.
Yeah.
Like when I saw the date on it, because I knew the Dismemberment Plan. I've like heard their name before. I just never gave them a listen, but like I've known who they are. And I knew they were like a late 90s, early 2000s band. Like that was mainly, I don't know if they're still making music, but like I knew they were more popular during the 90s and early 2000s. So I was like, cool, I have no idea what I'm getting into, but we're going to get some of that like old 90s like math production where it sounds kind of like dirty and fucking garagey. No, this is clean as fuck.
Yeah, the whole album is clean. Like you can listen to it, and even though every instrument is going everywhere and everything's just going insane, you can pick everything out individually. Like you're like, oh, I can hear the bass. That kind of sounds like a stand-up bass right now.
Right.
Oh, these drums are doing like a weird jazzy fill with the hi-hats and the snares, and I don't know. It's the production is really impressive for 99. In my opinion, there's not really too many bad songs on this one. There's some that take more to get into than others, but yeah. The only downside that I can find is, like I said, some of the tracks may be a bit too confusing and hectic.
Yeah.
Especially in certain passages, and it's definitely going to require multiple listens to get into it and be able to appreciate it. The album clocks in around 45 minutes. It feels about right. It doesn't feel too short. enough to where you're like, well, that was a waste of my time. I really want more now. And it's also not too long where everything is just drug out. Like,
And and at the
earlier.
same time where you don't feel like you wasted your time if you listened to it and you fucking hated it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like exactly the first time I listened to it. I listened to it on a drive to go pick up Emmett and then bring him back to my apartment, which takes about like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And like I listened to it and I was like, man, I got to give this a second listen. But I mean, it's a perfect clock in for that drive, so it's easy.
But yeah, another thing about the album is it is hard to listen to a bit, but it is very versatile. Like it rotates around. It'll have like catchy rock songs and rock passages like What Do You Want Me to Say?
Oh yeah,
like
that
chorus
chorus
is really fucking catchy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so catchy, and you just bob your head like, and that shit'll just be in your head for a little bit.
Yeah,
it's really catchy. It can rotate between that and, like I said, jazzy breaks and good, like mathy guitar breakdowns. It really does keep you on your toes, kind of like you don't really know what to expect when you're listening to this shit. You really do not. As for favorite songs off the album or standout songs, I got Memory Machine. What Do You Want Me to Say? Which What Do You Want Me to Say is like the oasis in the beginning of the album.
Yeah,
because you get hit with these like 2-3 tracks that are just so dense and like hectic, and then What Do You Want Me to Say comes on and you're like, oh, my brain can fucking rest for a
yeah, I can just zone out to this for a minute. Yeah, because like I said, those first 2 tracks or whatever, that's where I got the Blood Brothers vibes from, because at times he's even sort of like yelling, half screaming like a Blood Brothers song would be. Like, not to the more on like the poppier Blood Brothers songs where they're still like shouting at you, but it's a little bit more accessible. But like those first 2 tracks are, if you're just sitting down to listen to this or something, you just sit those first 2 in and you're like, fuck this album. Like if I didn't have to listen to this for the show, I probably wouldn't have gotten through the whole thing and actually enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then my last one was City. The City.
I like that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you give it for a score?
I did actually, like I said.
Or actually, what other bands did you recommend? I want to hear that.
Yeah, I feel like this one we're
right?
definitely going to be off the wall on this one. My first suggestion, and this is basically from the for more of like similar music from the time period that gives you kind of like that emo vibe that you pick up sometimes from this album. I thought Diary by Sunny Day Real Estate was a pretty good similar album. It's a lot more accessible and a little bit softer around the edges, but still a great mathy emo album. Another one I did was Nothing Feels Good by The Promise Ring. You get some of that kind of more mathy shit going on. And then this was a stretch, but I felt like it fit because it has that chaos, and it's just that all over the place. And pretty much any album from this band will work, but I really like this one, Alphabets by Trophy Scars. So,
nice.
So that one's definitely more heavy, more on the like shouting side of vocal delivery, but still a really good album and a good band nonetheless. For the overall score, I'm going to tell you what I initially was going to give it and then what it ended up becoming. At first, I was going to give this one like a light 3 because I just could not fucking stand it at first. But yeah, once I wrapped my head around it and I started actually picking up on some of the fucking cool shit going on in this record, I gave it a 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So for my other bands, which this is like we were saying, this is fucking hard. Like this is really fucking hard to just pull shit out. My first one was it's kind of like if I would have to explain it, it would be like Dismemberment Plan and Fugazi had a baby, and that band was called Drive Like Jehu.
Okay.
And the album's called Yank Crom.
Mm-hmm.
It's got that like weird bouncy type quality that Dismemberment Plan was doing, which is weird because this album is actually older than the album that we listened to. But yeah, it does have like that bouncy quality. and it does have like you can kind of tell that it would sound kind of similar, but it's angry. It's a lot angrier, instrumentation wise and vocal delivery. I also put a emo type band on here for the, I guess, for the mathiness, just for the mathiness, and that's Captain Jazz. Yeah, I would say the name of the album. It's called
Alphabet
Pathology.
Alphabet Anthology or whatever.
Yeah,
Alphabet Anthology.
Yeah, which is basically just a mashup of all they came out with.
Yeah,
pretty much. Because I imagine that Captain Jazz just came out with a lot of like EPs, and they just pushed them together over time. But yeah, Captain Jazz really does have that like mathy emo type bit going on there. And then the last one, which is a really big stretch, because I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's the Microphones, the Glow Part 2.
Okay.
The Microphones, the Glow Part 2. And I really just put them in there because I don't know, they are also really unique. They have some really good instrumentation, which it's mostly acoustic guitar. It's a really good album. I would check it out regardless if you like this or not. But yeah, it was I guess I just put it in there for the vocal delivery, honestly, because it sounds, they're kind of similar. Yeah. But yeah, it was really fucking hard to come up with.
Dude, even bands. Like I was, after I listened to it a few times and I realized I liked it, and I was like, all right, I got to try to figure out. I had no idea. Like I had no idea what I could put for suggestions. I had to look at the Spotify like related artists and shit, and none of them fit. I mean, like what I think the first one was like Fugazi. Captain Jazz was the next one. I'm like, man, Fugazi ain't nothing like this shit. Fugazi heavy and pissed as hell. Like that ain't close, brother. But like, it makes sense, you know. A lot of that. Like I said, I thought this was a lot like a Blood Brothers album, and it's not at all. But that was like my first thought, and it's not. Like it's just a very unique album.
Yeah, I ended up listening to this about 5 times. I'll probably continue. It'll be in my rotation now, and I'll listen to it every once in a while. I'm definitely not going to listen to it every day or anything like that because it's too much.
Yeah,
it's too fucking much. It would give me anxiety. It really would. Let's see. It's a refresh. As for overall score, it's a refreshing album. It will take you multiple listens to get through it and to enjoy it, but it's unique enough to where it deserves multiple listens. It's not one of those where you're like, okay, I'm going to listen to this like 12 times and everything's going to sound the same every single time. You're going to pick out shit that's different almost every time you hear it. You're like, oh, I didn't notice that before. Or I didn't notice that break, or I didn't notice this bass line, you know. It's crazy. But I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Concrete saying y'all just now getting into Dismemberment Plan. Yeah, man, I fucking never listened to them before. They're fucking
me neither. My friend, which oddly enough spent a year up, it was actually in 2 years in Bellingham, Washington.
Yeah,
so that's probably where he got that shit from.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
Neat. So an 8 and a 7. Good scores are on the board for Emergency and I by Dismemberment Plan. Check it out. Give it a few listens. You're gonna have to. The last album that we listened to this week definitely deserves the top spot in my opinion. I loved it. It was amazing. And that was Leather Teeth by Carpenter Brute. And just by looking at the fucking album artwork, I think you can kind of get a feel for what this is going for. But we're going for a very 80s retro wave, electronic, rave style album. Carpenter Brute is one of my favorites of this genre. And this album I was super excited for when I heard he was coming out with something new. I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then I saw that it dropped and immediately texted when Loco was asking me which albums we should listen to. I was like, well, this came out, and we both like Carpenter Brute, so this is a good listen. It's just a great album overall. It's super cohesive. Again, it's a retro wave electronic album. I mean, it's probably going to be pretty cohesive, but there's some really cool shit going on with you know, some vocalists that were guested on the album. The runtime is almost perfect. I mean, it's not too long, it's not too short. It doesn't leave you wanting more, but it leaves you very, very pleased with what you've listened to. And if you're into it, it makes you just want to turn on another album by Carpenter Brut or one of the similar artists in the genre. What I did notice on this album was that he fucking experiments quite a bit with layering sound and his style in general. There's just a lot more going on, I feel like, in this album than he has in previous efforts. At times, I was really getting like if Deadmau5 went 80s, which for me, that's a huge, coming from me, I feel like that's a huge compliment because I really like Deadmau5 and I think he's a genius musician in terms of like how he creates sound and layers everything together. And I felt like this album at times really felt like if Deadmau5 went 80s. Beware the Beast is a track that I felt was paying homage to glam and hair metal bands of the 80s. Definitely had kind of that just glam, like with the vocal delivery from the guest vocal on it and just the guitars going on and just the instrumentation in general. It just felt like a glam metal band. Really enjoyed that. I feel like this album, there's not much to say. It's just good. You can see it's wearing influence on the sleeve, but not really copying that influence at all. Just it's an influence. It's not that he's copying anybody or trying to be someone he's not. It's just you know what he likes and what he's trying to do here. But a lot of the more modern retro wave artists are kind of bringing in more of like a dark, heavy synth vibe to it that isn't really popular from 80s music of the same style. So we're getting kind of that modern, like, grim, bleak approach to, like, something that's generally pretty upbeat and exciting. My favorite songs off of this album were Cheerleader Effect, Monday Hunt, and Hairspray Hurricane.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this album. I mean, it's kind of, like you said, it's kind of hard to go into it knowing that it's a Carpenter Brut like retro wave outrun. If you like the genre, then you know you're already going to like the album pretty much. Like I said, I liked this album, but I did not like it as much as Trilogy.
Okay.
It's a lot less aggressive than Trilogy. Trilogy felt really aggressive to me, and that's the kind of outrun that I like, and that's the kind of retro wave that I like. It sounded like he was trying to branch out into more like melodic avenues. Like he was really trying to get a little bit more melodic with this one. Let's see. I really liked the aggressive intro title track, Leather Teeth, which that's one of my favorite songs. I don't know why I put that in my notes. It's probably because this is the first one I wrote notes for. And like you said, there's really not much to talk about it. I, on the other hand, was not a fan of the two songs that had vocalists. They were actually it was Cheerleader Effect and Beware the Beast. Okay. And those were my least favorites on the album, just because of the vocals.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. I just didn't like them. I thought that when I was listening, oh yeah, Carpenter Brut, I know what I'm in for. And about the first 2 to 3 songs, you're like, yeah, this is exactly what I was in for. This is exactly what I knew I was going to get. And then it just changes. Legit changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of these retro wave, it's like beat down hardcore. There's only so much you can do with outrun,
right.
You know, at the same, beats per minute and the same synths, and the same kits. So, I mean, it would make sense that they would branch out and try different things and different sounds. The standouts for me, which I've already posted, were Leather Teeth, Monday Hunt, and Hairspray Hurricane.
Man, Hairspray Hurricane was it's like, that's my favorite song off that album for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of tied between like Monday Hunt and Hairspray Hurricane to me.
Monday Hunt's super dark and like heavy. Yeah. Which I get why, that's the classic Carpenter Brut aggression. Also, just an FYI, we might have to refresh the chat here. I just got the notification saying that the free session ends in 10 minutes.
Oh.
which is weird because it's just two of us and it's supposed to be free. So I'll have to look into that for next week. But if we do have
maybe it happened when I dropped and then came back in.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah.
That could be.
That would be unfortunate. I guess since this was your most liked one, I'll run through my bands and then the score real quick. Maybe you can hear the train.
Yeah.
Other bands you might like. First of all, it'd be Perturbator. And I put Dangerous Days on there, even though, it's more outrunny retro wave than his newest. His newest got really dark, and I think that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Like he really changed his sound up a bit. I really liked it. I really liked his newer one. But a staple is Dangerous Days, in my opinion. Burgessy, Space Tapes and Vice. That's
Great
another
album.
another good outrun retro wave album. And if you liked the songs with vocals, I did not, but if you liked them, you might like a band called Gunship with their self-titled Gunship.
We got the same fucking albums, dude.
Oh,
well, the same artist. I only put two, but yeah, mine were the same. Fucking, I just did Uncanny Valley by Perturbator and the self-titled by Gunship, because basically that's it. That's the album. I mean, if you like the vocals, Gunship all the way, and if you just like the outrun style, fucking Perturbator.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's pretty much where the only thing that you're missing out of any of those are the guitar. Right. That's really the only thing that you're missing. Like I said, in my opinion, it's definitely worth repeated listens. There's a good number of songs on there that are good, that are enjoyable, that you can pick and choose and make a curated playlist from, or pop it on an outrun playlist or something like that you can pick out. And I gave it a 7 out of 10. I
gave it an 8.5.
No.
Yeah, I really like this one. I actually almost gave it a fucking 9, but yeah, I used to write Sputnik review articles back in college. I used to do that just to fuck around, and I could never, I feel like a fucking elitist, but I could never give an album a fucking 5. Like, and it's hard for me to give an album a 10. Like, you know, even 9s, like 9s are fucking, they gotta be goddamn like perfect, and
they gotta be instant classics.
Yeah, and I mean, it's gotta be that, like, for an album to be a 9 or 10 for me, it's gotta be that first listen, I'm like, sold, done, love it. Every aspect is perfect. That was how, the only album I've ever given like a perfect score for in my like reviewing. Well, actually, there's two. I really like, I have a perfect like classic whatever for Language by Contortionist, and The Always Open Mouth by Fear Before.
Fear Before the March of Flames.
Yeah, boy. But yeah, fucking good scores on all these. Well, on this one for sure. Check it out. This was my favorite from the week. And then I know Loco's favorite was Dismemberment Plan. So you got two really good albums. And then, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's not like we had a bad album this week. It was just samey.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. There were two that was pretty good, and then there were two that were samey.
Yeah.
It could have been shorter.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's the mark of a bad album right there, is if you're always like, oh man, this could have been shorter, it's because you didn't want to listen to it.
Right.
that's probably it. So I guess since our Zoom's about to fuck up, do you want to go ahead and end this and then come back and talk about what we're going to listen to next week?
Yeah, we'll do that. So give us like 2 seconds here. I'm going to set up a new Zoom call, and the stream is going to continue going. We're just going to set up a Zoom call and make sure that's all functioning properly. So let me go ahead and put some tunes on real quick, and we'll test that out, get back in here, and we'll talk about next week and what you can expect. So we'll be back in a second. got it working. We're back. Make sure that size is correct. There we go. Easy. That wasn't too bad. I'm gonna have to talk to Wayne and have him give me his fucking Zoom so I can just do that. Oh, fucking hang on. Hang on.
We're hanging on. Hanging on. What's Concrete talking about? I demand higher production quality.
Whoops. All right. So anyway, what were we gonna do now? Oh, talk about next week. That's right.
Oh, look, it's Lex.
Yeah, boy. So basically, I demand higher production quality. This is unacceptable. I'd like to speak to your manager. Well, the manager's me right now, so talk to Wayne, make him give me his Zoom login, and then we don't have to worry about it. But so do a quick little rundown here. Just going back over it. We listened to the Dismemberment Plan, Emergency and I, Disperse, Forward, Harm's Way, Posthuman, and Carpenter Brute Leather Teeth. Basically, you're going to want to definitely listen to that Carpenter Brute album and the Emergency and I Dismemberment Plan album. And then the Disperse and Harm's Way, still worth the listen, just not as good as the others. So what are we listening to next week? Basically, what we're trying to do here is this way you guys can listen to it along with us. And maybe in chat you'll have your own opinions. Again, this is a music review show, so you're definitely going to have an opinion. And ours may not line up with yours, but that's okay.
I mean, considering that we're picking the albums, which who knows, maybe down the line you guys can be like, we can do like a poll or something.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, we could do like a poll or a straw poll or something and see if other people or the chat can pick or other people can pick. But considering that mainly we're going to be picking the albums, probably our opinions are going to differ from yours.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't like metal.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. I guess I'll go ahead and pop out my first two.
Yeah.
Like we're picking two apiece pretty much. Let's see. My first one that I picked was Hyborian Volume 1. It's a new band and it's a new album and they're touring with Weed Eater. So I'm going to watch that show. And so I was like, who's this band? And I listened to like one song and I was like, oh, okay, I'll give them a shot. And I thought, you know what? I'll wait and I'll make Cassandra listen to them too. So it's like stoner. It's like stoner rock, stoner metal, sludgy.
I like stoner doom anyway, so.
Yeah. So joke's on you, motherfucker. You know? It's like, but yeah, like piece of shit. Yeah, I can definitely I can definitely get into stoner and sludge. So yeah, that was my first one. And then when I was trying to pick the second one, I was looking at what released today. Ilsa was one of them, and I kind of wanted to listen to Ilsa, but then I also saw that our good old friend Andrew WK came out with an album called You Are Not Alone, and it is on Spotify. And so the second album is Andrew WK, You're Not Alone.
And we'll see, if it's...
We're going to see if he's still partying hard.
Yeah. In his fucking, like late 40s?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck. He probably still got long, luscious black hair, too, and wears white T-shirts everywhere. I'm sure he does.
White pants.
Yeah, and he's constantly bleeding from the nose.
And then my two selections for this week were a new album by the band Mammoth Grinder called Cosmic Crypt. It just came out a few days ago or a week ago or something like that. So I listened to the singles that they released before the album came out, and I was really into it. Mammoth Grinder is kind of just your typical hardcore band, but they're more on the like thrashy metal side of things. So if you like Power Trip and shit like that, that's got more of like a Metallica thrash vibe to it, Mammoth Grinder is another one. They just got more. They're heavier than the other selections for sure. And then an album by Com Truise called Iteration. I've listened to Com Truise before. Kind of got a you know, another 80s inspired electronic kind of vaporwave, kind of lo-fi. But I'd never listened to Iteration before, and kind of slipped under my radar, I suppose, because it's not a really new album. I think it came out last year. So not too new, but, you know, it's not an old one. So for next week, we're going to listen to Volume 1 by Hyborian, Cosmic Crypt by Mammoth Grinder, Iteration by Comtrues, and You're Not Alone by Andrew WK. So you guys can listen to that along with us. I'll probably put all those. I'll make a new channel in my Discord, and we'll throw we'll throw our opinions up. We'll throw our fucking new listens up. All that shit in there.
Yeah, and we'll also I'll probably make one in No Life too, or get Wayne to make one. I'm pretty sure I can make one, but if I can't, then I'll get Wayne to make one.
Yeah,
a little channel.
Yeah, and hopefully, like I said, we'll get Wayne's. We should have no issues getting his Zoom account, because if we can keep it at a time frame like this for the near future, he doesn't even need Zoom to do fucking live mixing. Fridays. So
yeah, exactly.
Because that's what I was always worried about. I was like, oh well, he couldn't do it because of live mixing, but fuck it. Yeah, so this was a bet. I think this is the way we're gonna go about doing this show. Just 4 albums a week. We'll review them, find 4 for the next week, and that'll be it. Because this was about an hour 15. It's a good time. What we're gonna make this available on the No Life channel once I get the VODs over to Jerry to edit down and do his thing with.
Yeah, and not only that, but we should have just. If it's going to No Life, then we'll just have pure audio too, and we'll be on like Apple shit like that, iTunes. But yeah. So whenever these do get uploaded, if you ever want to rewatch them or something like that, you can check it out on nolife.digital on YouTube. Or no, it's just No Life Digital on YouTube. Our website nolife.digital. We also have an Instagram and Twitch, and
all the social medias.
All No Life Digital.
Yep.
Yeah, Wayne posts a lot on Instagram on No Life Digital, and also on Twitter, I think.
Yeah, he posts a lot on Twitter, and then that's about it. That's all we got.
Yeah.
This is the new podcast that we're making.
Yeah.
The Musical. I think we're gonna just keep that name because it's fucking weird. And
yeah, like I said, I prefer elitist pricks, but you know, you never.
We'll do a straw poll on that shit for next week. Do you want it to be music hole or fucking elitist pricks? Fuck it, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I was about to say, ask Lex how that sounded out of context.
Yeah, right.
Music hole, fucking elitist pricks.
Yeah, that sounds like a fucking Pornhub video if I've ever seen one.
Exactly.
But yeah, thanks Loco. Thanks for hanging out. I know you had to basically get ready right after work, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing this again next Friday around the same time, as long as everything goes according to plan. But like I said, this stream isn't going to be too consistent in terms of the start times and days even, because it's just going to depend on when him and I can get together and make it happen. But it seems like Fridays are working right now, so I think we'll keep doing it this way. But yeah, that's all I got, and hope you enjoyed the tunes. I hope you enjoyed listening to what we suggested, and if you didn't, then go fuck yourself. Honestly, I think that could be the fucking sign-off.
Yeah, man, that's the sign. I forget what was the sign-off last week, but
I like that.
Fuck yourself seems appropriate.
It sounds good for the two of us. That's definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Just fuck yourself.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week with those 4 new albums, and hopefully some of you guys can listen to them too and give us your opinions while we're talking, even though you'll be wrong. And yeah, this is the Music Hole, and we'll see you guys next week. If you care to follow all of us, join my Discord. We'll talk more there, and I guess that's it. I'm just talking now because I already said the sign off, and it just sounds stupid to repeat it. So this was it. We'll see you next week. Go fuck yourself.